Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I just wondering, do you see a little square, rectangular black square on the right side of the screen, or it's all right?
It looks okay
Right.
for me, at least.
Okay, okay. I was wondering if this window was masking. Okay, so for those who don't know yet, eLab is an open source lab notebook. It's something that I've been developing for many years now. And it's something that you install on a server in a Docker container. And so it's a very classical PHP MySQL app with a bunch of JavaScript to tie it all together. And I will show you just quickly, just to get an idea of what it is. But so it's just a lab notebook where you store your experiments. Okay, so each entry is an experiment, and then you have different fields like the date, the status, the title. You can add some tags, and and you have a big field where you can put your text and stuff. You can have some steps. You can link stuff to a database, and I will probably come back to that. Attach some files. This is what we will talk about, is like the JSON improvement of the software, but let me just finish with like the basics of it, which is, yeah, a lab notebook. So something where you can log your results and also attach some light data. So like an Excel file or whatever, you don't put like your gigabyte of data in there. And that's the first part, is the experiments. And then the second part is the database. And the database, you can have as many categories of items as you want. So the idea behind the lab is that it's something for different kind of labs. So I'm coming from the biology world. And in biology, you have plasmid, antibodies, cell lines, mice cell lines, frog cell lines, you see. And your crystallography lab will have different needs. And materials physics labs will also have different things to store. So the idea is that every team has the possibility to completely customize how they store their stuff with different templates and everything, and a lot of customizability. Okay, so what I want to tell you is that when you look at an experiment like that, you see you have a date, a title, some body, some steps, whatever. And there is basically two points, but the major point is that people wanted to extend the fields that you have access to. And the second one is that they wanted to be able to define. So you define new fields, but also you are able to search for a particular value for a particular field. So what I mean by that, I will take an experiment that has metadata. So what we did after, and there was a discussion on the GitHub stuff. In the discussion part, there is like a big discussion. You see 50 comments for all the how to best implement it. And probably in there you will find this XKCD that was shown on on Monday. So yeah, basically we thought, okay, so the best is to have JSON. Okay, I think we can all agree JSON won the battle. So let's just use JSON. But how? And so what was done basically is to add a new JSON column inside the MySQL table. And this JSON could be special in a way that if there is a key called extra fields, this key could be interpreted to generate new inputs. And so as a user, I can create an experiment from a template that already has some JSON metadata. So it's it's possible that end users will not even have to deal with JSON directly, because you can have templates that are already made for that, and so they just are faced with this, and every time they change something in there, it will change in the JSON. And so, of course, what this allows is to, you see here, you have a pressure field. So if you want to standardize all the experiments that has at some point in something about pressure, like, okay, you do it that way, and you know that all these experiments will have a key pressure, and you will be able to, I don't know, query all the experiments where the pressure is 18 Pascal. So there is now this JSON stuff, and I was listening to the talk about Optimad, and basically what I want to achieve in my head is to have some sort of homogenization of the different APIs for the different ELNs, so that you can query an experiment regardless of where it's stored, if it's stored in Kmotion, or if it's stored in eLab, or if it's stored in Synode, or any of the other proprietary ELNs, and then you get some sort of standardized response with, as Optimide mentioned, like you can have some little differences with optional fields depending on where you query it, because maybe Kmotion will have more information about chemical structures, and eLab it will be a bit different. But at least you have like a common core of stuff. And I think this is really what I want to push forward. And I think this workshop is really like a very good opportunity to know a bit what the others are doing, and how we can all work together to make it easy also for users to query this stuff and to access the thing. Simon also at some point mentioned what was new in the UK. So just to tell you what is new in France. So basically the French government decided, so the science department, I would say, the Ministry of Science and Research and Innovation, they said, okay, so let's make everything fair. Okay, so they are really pushing for it. I think a lot of European countries are nowadays pushing for fairer science, we could say. And so, as you can see, there is this plan to generalize open science. And so it's basically a lot of text just to say, okay, we want stuff to make it fair, you see. And so they are really like pushing open source stuff and project to improve the state of affairs. And I'm hoping that eLab will be really a key player in this thing. And for that, I really need your help if you are using eLab, to tell me what kind of features would be crucial to have. And for that, really, you can use the GitHub repository to talk to discuss about kind of stuff that can be implemented into eLab, because there is also discussions about the raw data, so like big data, where when you generate a gigabyte of data, where do you store it, and where do you store it in a place where you can find the corresponding experiment in your lab notebook, and how you link both together, and knowing that sometimes also this data will move, like the server maybe will move, or and at some point also, once you published your paper, you want this data to be available. So for that, I don't know if you heard about there is dataverse.org, which is an open source research data repository software, and some universities, they have their own instance of Dataverse, where you can find the data sets for the different papers that were published by the university. So there is this. I think it's pretty interesting. So let's see if I can make eLab talk to this stuff. So there is still some work to do, but I mean, the basis is there. There is a metadata. We are working on the V1 with a proper API specification for the metadata in eLab, so that we have something to work on. And maybe one day we will get to the level of Optimide with a really nice specification for everything. But of course, we are not there yet. But yeah, it's moving on. So yeah, that's what I wanted to present you, basically, this metadata stuff and the ability. Yeah, because of course there is there is an API for eLab. You can browse the stuff, and so yeah, the idea really is to be able to query with Python. There is a little Python library that is published, or with curl, and in there you see these kind of fields which are very specific to eLab, but some of them are not that specific. Like, for instance, the date. Okay, you can imagine that many lab notebooks will have a date. Same with the title, you see. Same with the content, like the body of it. Then you have stuff like tags that maybe won't be implemented, or other, but uploads, you can imagine that some other lab notebook entries will have uploads, but then we need to get together in a room and agree that this field will be called uploads and not attachments, you see. And that is the real difficulty, I think, in all this adventure. And so when you do that, you get also the metadata field, which is a JSON field, and then you can work with that and do whatever you want with that. So really, if you don't if you're not using the software, you can have a look at the demo. There is a demo online at demo.elabftw.net. So just head over there. I will also put the link directly into the chat. Oops, post share. Okay, chat. So you can have a look at the GitHub. And that's it. Yeah, let's discuss a bit. Tell me if you have questions about what I've just said, and I'm looking forward also for all this workshop and discussions on GitHub.